Joining us now, Tom Speciale, running for U.S. Senate long shot bid to be the nominee so he can go up against and get beat by Mark Warner. Just kidding, Tom. Tom, nice. It's kind of a thankless job. If Biden's a nominee, Warner is the overwhelming favorite, right? You know that. Your big shot was Bernie Sanders. I mean, it is what it is. So let's get to your assessment of yesterday, Tom.
Well, I'm very disappointed. I'm really rooting for Bernie because I think that he's the best thing that could happen to the Republican Party. But we'll see what happens. We're hoping that Bernie pulls it out in Michigan and gets back at the top, so we can show what America really believes, and we can take these socialists on head to head, and Trump will, he'll steamroll them. And that's really what I'm hoping for. But I've got some breaking news for you.
Okay.
Two bits of breaking news. The first one is, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I confronted Bloomberg on Fox News. I was the guy in the audience that confronted him, that forced him to cut to commercial. But we captured it on video, what happened afterwards, and where I went after him about the liberties that the people of New York have been deprived of. New York, Chicago, St. Louis, etc. And after that, because they cut off, Fox News cut it out because there was some NDA protesters that were running around waving around flags and stuff. But then after that, Bloomberg offered to talk to me privately. And so I got about a 2-minute or 3-minute conversation with Bloomberg as well. And basically took him to task on the disarmament of basically all these American citizens all in these major cities. And he says, and I have him on tape saying, well, I don't know anything about firearms, so here's my personal business card. Give my office a call, and I'll put you in contact with an expert because I don't know anything about guns. All right, so that's the first bit of breaking news. It's on my Facebook page. You can find both of the videos. Because nobody else has these. Only my team captured these 2 videos. Mm-hmm. And then the other breaking news, probably more important to the Republicans in Virginia, is the fact that we dropped off our petitions with the RPV on Monday this week. And we were given an appointment by the secretary at the RPV, mm-hmm. Kathy, who's worked there for 35 years. She gave us an appointment for Tuesday morning, right? Well, because of what I do for a living, I knew well in advance that Daniel Gate had an appointment for Thursday. So his appointment was Thursday. I was given an appointment for Tuesday. Before we had departed, we were outside talking with a few members of my team. Kathy comes back out and says, the lawyers say that Daniel Gate has to be in front of you for getting pre-check. Now, bear in mind, I'm standing there at the office, petitions in hand. Daniel Gate has an appointment for Thursday. It's Monday morning. She gives me an appointment on Tuesday. The lawyers said that they wanted Daniel Gate to be counted first because he had an appointment before mine. Now, the problem with this is Daniel Gate set up his appointment, sometime in February. The issue with this is technically I could have made an appointment then all the way back in January when we started. I could have made an appointment all the way back in September for the day before the petition can be dropped with the State Board of Elections. So the reason I say all this is the RPV leadership, again, up to their shenanigans, like they did in previous elections, where they basically put up roadblocks for anybody who isn't the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party. So I have it in writing from them that they have refused to accept my petitions. We're going to, supposedly, they're going to get them counted with plenty of time, but we know how these things work. So we're in conversations with the RPV leadership over the shenanigans that they pulled in 2016 and they pulled in 2018 with people that basically the grassroots candidates, the people that they don't like. So I just thought I'd give you that as that's the first public statement for anybody. And we just wanted the people of Virginia to know what was going on with the current chairman, Jack Wilson, who I spoke with personally and told him that the best thing he could do would be to count my petitions first, because that would begin to restore faith and confidence in the RPV leadership. I gave him every opportunity to do that, and he chose not to do that. He chose instead to stick with the presumptive nominee, Daniel Gate, who I'm going to beat in the primary, and that'll be it.
I've asked the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia to come on and respond to the allegation made by Tom Speciale, and he is with us now, Jack Wilson. Jack, thanks for being on at short notice. Thank you.
Sure, good to be with you, John, and thanks for the heads up. Unfortunately, I was doing some work and didn't listen to the segment, so I didn't listen and hear what Mr. Speciale specifically said, but I got the tenor of it from your conversation just there.
So basically what he said is that he called Kathy, and he had an appointment for Tuesday to submit his petitions, and that Daniel Gade, his opponent, had a appointment for Thursday. Now, these are appointments, so our audience understands, where you go into the Republican Party of Virginia and you officially submit your petition signatures for evaluation to then get on the ballot in the primary.
Well, it's a little bit here. And maybe I can explain it a little easier for you, so your listeners understand it. You're right. In order to get on the primary ballot for the U.S. Senate nomination in June, you must submit to the State Board of Elections 10,000 signatures of qualified voters in Virginia, and you have to, within that 10,000, have to have at least 500 from each congressional district. So that's a requirement under the state code. And the way the state code works is you can go straight to the State Board of Elections and file your petitions. They will then send those petitions to me with about 72 hours prior to the filing deadline for the Republican Party of Virginia to certify that those are all valid signatures. And so what we set up about 4 years ago was a process that we would pre-check, and this is, again, it's more courtesy to the candidates than anything else, but we would do a pre-check of those signatures. We would go through, and if you submitted 125% of the required number here, that'd be 12,500, we'll go through those and sort of pre-check them to say, yep, we think you've got all the requisite signatures, go ahead and file, and then when the State Board of Elections comes back to me with 72 hours to get it done, we've already done the pre-check and they're good to go. So what's happened here is we sent out a memo to all the campaigns, and there are more than two. There are at least 4 folks out there circulating petitions now. But we sent out a memo in early February outlining this courtesy pre-check process. And most important in that memo was that you must coordinate with the party, and it specifically says the executive director, but now I've got a political director, not an executive director, but nonetheless, you must coordinate that with the party, because this pre-check process is very time-consuming and cumbersome, and we must bring in volunteers to do it. Normally, if I can get 10 volunteers in for a set of petitions, that's ideal. But you got to realize we're checking these hand-scribbled petitions against the voter rolls to verify that these people are valid. So it is a process that works if it's done in a cooperative and professional manner. So what we had here was the first campaign that contacted RPV was the Daniel Gade for Senate committee. They contacted my political director on February 26th and said they were ready to undergo the pre-check process. So based on that, knowing we had Super Tuesday, and while it was the Democrats' primary, we were clearly going to be fielding a lot of calls and a lot of activity at the party related to that. We looked, and the first availability that we could get volunteers was tomorrow, Thursday, March the 5th. So we coordinated that date with the Gade campaign, have volunteers lined up to come in tomorrow to do the pre-check, and again, which will take hours, and got that all set. Well, as I understand it, Mr. Speciale showed up unannounced on Monday with a box of petitions and wanted to get a pre-check. And it was upset because we weren't in a position to have the volunteers lined up to do that pre-check for him. He spoke not with the political director, but with Kathy Bolden, and all of those who know the Republican Party of Virginia and have been around for a while know Kathy is a very diligent, hardworking member of our staff, but she doesn't have the authority to schedule pre-checks. She's not the one that coordinates the process. And so she was trying to be accommodating, I think, to Mr. Speciale and said, we would try to get an appointment. And at the end of the process, having talked with General Counsel and looked at the entire process, we've got both campaigns, Senator or Daniel Gay for Senate and Tom Speciale for Senate, both being pre-checked tomorrow. So I'm really not sure what the shenanigans are. He's being accommodated. The earliest you can file is Monday with the State Board of Elections, so both campaigns there will have their pre-checks completed, and presumably both will be in line at the State Board of Elections on Monday. So I'm really not sure what the stink is about. Assuming he's got the signatures, and assuming both campaigns have the signatures, they'll both pass pre-check and both file on Monday.
So he wanted an appointment for Tuesday. He showed up unannounced. And you didn't have the volunteers there ready on Tuesday to go through his petitions to be sure that they were clean. But both candidates have the ability to do that on Thursday because that's when you've scheduled the volunteers in to go through them. And both will have 72 hours for pre-check. And if there's an issue, then they have the weekend to go and fix it, get more signatures in a particular congressional district or whatever they have to do. Is that my understanding?
That's exactly right. And again, for the State Board of Elections, Monday is the first day you can file. The actual filing deadline doesn't occur until 5 o'clock on March 26th. So there's plenty of time to actually file with the State Board of Elections and be on the ballot in June. So this is just the pre-check process that we're doing as a courtesy to candidates, so that before they go to the State Board of Elections, they'll have the confidence that they have met the petition requirements.
So Tom is running for Senate, and I respect what he's doing, Tom Speciale. But I tell you what, he's got to play by the rules that everybody else does. So you can't just walk in and schedule a pre-check when you've got to schedule volunteers in. So I'm not sure what his beef is, but the line of conversation with Mr. Speciale was impugning the integrity of A, the chairman, Jack Wilson, B, the general counsel, Chris Marson. And what set me off is he said, look, I have checked with other people who have gone through this with the RPV, trying to manipulate who gets on the ballot. And he accused you guys of only wanting Daniel Gade as a nominee, and so doing everything in your power to stop him from getting on the ballot, which you have no power to do that.
That's exactly right. And again, this is the first time I've been chairman going through this pre-check process, and my political director, Tommy Ewing, this is his first time going through this pre-check process, so I don't know what the allegations are about RPV trying to keep people off the ballot relate to, but we can't do that. If he's got the required signatures, he'll be on the ballot. All we're doing is a courtesy before he goes and shows up at the State Board of Elections, doing a courtesy of saying, let's double-check and pre-check your petitions before you go file with the State Board of Elections. He could skip the pre-check if he wants to. He just runs the risk that when I get those petitions back 3 days before the filing deadline, that if he's short, he doesn't have any time to get it fixed. So that's why we do this as a courtesy. But he doesn't have to go through it. He could go straight to the State Board of Elections on Monday if he wants to.
The pre-check done by the Republican Party of Virginia is a courtesy that candidates want to take advantage of in order to get any problems out of the way early. So you pre-check it, and if there's an issue, they're going to get back to them immediately. And let's say they say, look, you've got 12-5, but we've got a problem with the 8th Congressional District in Northern Virginia. We could only verify 420 legit voters there. You're short about 100. So why don't you get in your car, drive up there, go to the Walmart, go to the Food Lion, go knock on doors, go to the library, do whatever you do legally, go there and get the other 100 signatures and come back. That's the purpose of it, right, Jack?
That's exactly right, just to let candidates have the comfort before they file that they have met the petition requirements. If they want to go straight to the state board, they have every right to do it. This is just a courtesy that we're extending to candidates so that they can go confidently to the State Board of Elections knowing that they have met the petition requirements.
All right. So, Jack, you're encouraging Mr. Speciale and other candidates to come make an appointment with the RPV to go through the petition pre-check so that if they want to run for office and get on the ballot, and this is all done prior. They don't really have to come to you at all, right? They can go straight to the BOE. Right,
they can go straight to this. They can go straight to the Board of Elections and file without going through our pre-check process. But then what happens is, I say, after the filing deadline, I will get all those petitions from the State Board of Elections to verify them. And if they're short, they don't have enough time to solve the problem. So I encourage everybody to go through the pre-check process so that when they go to the State Board, they'll be confident they have met the petition requirement.
Right.
And I do challenge. I mean, the fact anybody would question Chris Marston's integrity, frankly, is appalling to me. I'm used to it. With being the chairman, you get all the slings and arrows, but Chris Marston is about the most ethical person I know, and to suggest that Chris would be involved in some shenanigan to keep somebody off the ballot is frankly ridiculous.
Oh, I share that. My own campaign for national delegate and delegation chairman, Chris is our lawyer. He does everything by the book, every I dotted, every T crossed. Like I said about you, he's a pillar of integrity. And I said this earlier, Jack, we might not like the results you've gotten, and you and I might quibble about certain things that are getting done and who to hire, not hire, and how do you raise money or whatever. But as far as the integrity of Jack Wilson, I mean, that has never come into question by anybody. In fact, across the Republican Party of Virginia, you're the guy that everybody chose as their favorite temporary convention chair because you did everything fair and by the book. And when you were chairman of my district in the 4th District, and we had a fight for delegates with Cuccinelli for Cruz and me for Trump, you were very involved in that. And we went back and, talked, almost every day, being sure that, everything was signed, the delegates were in, there were no challenges, and you and I had an open dialogue, and you were extremely fair. I never felt in any way that you did anything to tip your hand one way or the other. Now, let's just be point blank here. Jack Wilson, are you in any way in favor or not in favor of any candidate qualifying or not qualifying for the June Senate primary in Virginia?
Absolutely not. I want every candidate that's interested in running for our nomination to have a fair shot to the ballot, and I want the best candidate to win. I have not endorsed, nor will I endorse, any of the candidates that are out there seeking the nomination. Obviously, once we have a nominee, I will put the full weight of the party behind that nominee to unseat Mark Warner. But whoever's the strongest candidate will win, and that's who we want to win in June so that we can win in November. But I've not endorsed, nor will I endorse any of the Senate candidates.
All right, John Fredericks Radio Network, back with Chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, Jack Wilson, up for re-election. That'll be decided in the convention, the Republican convention in May in Virginia. That is also where the president will get delegates nominated for him. There'll also be an election for state committee woman and state committee man and woman Cynthia Dunbar not running for re-election, but Morton Blackwell is. So that'll all get flushed out May 1st and 2nd. Tell us about the upcoming Republican convention in May in Richmond, Jack. Give us an update.
Well, planning is going really well for the convention, John. We are starting to get a sense of the enthusiasm for the convention. Obviously, out around the Commonwealth now are all the various mass meetings that are electing delegates to district conventions and state conventions is in progress. But just anecdotally, hearing what's going on in some of these mass meetings, there's a real increase in interest in participating in the process and participating in our state convention, which is great because, as we've talked about before, really what this convention is meant to do is to launch President Trump's campaign here in Virginia for November. We got through Super Tuesday yesterday. We see how the Democrats are still in a state of chaos, trying to figure out how far to the left they're going to lurch, whether they go with the socialist Bernie Sanders or the gaffe-prone Joe Biden. Bloomberg seems to have spent a lot of money for nothing, but they'll sort their process out, but we're ready to focus on Virginia for President Trump, and that's what this convention is going to do. So we're still in the process of lining up some speakers. We're going to hopefully have some announcements next week on that. We'll be sending out some announcements this week on hotel room blocks so that people can start making reservations to come to Richmond. But we are really looking forward to an exciting convention that we can showcase President Trump, his accomplishments, and get him ready to get reelected and win Virginia for him this November.
Jack, if people want to go to the convention and actually participate, be a delegate, how do they do that?
Well, they go through their local Republican committees. There are various mass meetings going on all throughout Virginia right now with varying deadlines, and so all you do is you file to be a delegate to the state convention. It's a box you'll check on your form. You get elected. We haven't had any localities yet have more people than are eligible, so essentially if you want to be a delegate, you'll be a delegate. You just got to fill out the appropriate form at your local committee. And we've got all of that information. If you go to virginia.gop, when you hit the home page, eventually you're going to see a pop-up that says, if you want information about how to be a delegate to the state convention, fill out some information, and we get right back with you to tell you how to become a delegate and come to the state convention. So,
what if you want to go to the state convention and you want to be, you want to get involved, you want to see what it's all about, but you don't want to go to a mass meeting on a Saturday, you don't want to join your local Republican unit, you're just not into it, can you still file and be a delegate?
You can. You still have to go through your local committee, and in many instances you won't. Most of the mass meetings get canceled, especially for delegate filings, because again, as long as there isn't an overfiling, everybody who files who meets the requirements, meaning you're a Republican, if you meet those requirements, you're going to be elected a delegate, so you really don't even have to show up to the mass meetings to get elected as a delegate. You just fill out the form, and eventually you'll get the information about how you're a delegate and come to Richmond.
If you file as a delegate for your district convention, does that automatically mean you can be a delegate to the state convention?
It does not automatically. Again, normally most of the pre-file forms and the forms to be delegates, vary to a certain extent from unit to unit, but usually there'll be two blocks. Some units, of course, you'll just click a box that says, I want to become a member of the local unit. You'll click a second box that says, I want to be a delegate to the district convention. And you'll click a third box that says, I want to be a delegate to the state convention. But you don't have to click all three of them. You can just say, I'm really not interested in being a member of the committee yet because I want to see what's going on. I really don't need to go to a district convention because maybe it's not nominating a congressional candidate, but I do want to come to the state convention to support President Trump. You just click that box and off you go.
All right, Jack Wilson, Chairman, Republican Party of Virginia. Thanks for all that clarification. And again, there are no shenanigans going on with filing petitions to get on the ballot. And Tom Speciale needs to really knock that off because it's unfounded. And I'm certainly not going to be a party to unfounded accusations impugning the integrity of my friends who I know extremely well that wouldn't do that and aren't doing that. So, Tom, get your petitions in, get on the ballot, and good luck. Thank you. As far as Jack is concerned, Jack, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Explaining all that. Thank you.
You have a great day.